Ba-dum bum bum bum. Slap back, chat frat. Slap back, chat frat. Slap back, jelly frat. Slap back, jelly frat. Slap back.
Hello and welcome back to Back Chat Frat. We have our guests, Mr. Joseph Butterball, Mr. Dickie Fontaine. How are you both doing, gentlemen?
Howdy, yeah, very well, thank you very much, Mr. Dan Reed. How are you, Mr. Joe Webb Butterball Webb?
Doing pretty good, I think. I mean, I don't know if anyone's made this observation yet, but it's a bit like Groundhog Day in here, right?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Because every day's the same. Yeah.
Slap
And Groundhog Day is a film. Have you seen Groundhog Day, Ollie?
Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've
in the
never
film,
met a human ever. Even the unborn, I've met a lot of them. Never seen. They've all seen Groundhog Day.
The unborn.
The unborn.
You've met a lot of unborn.
That's my first question to the unborn. Have you seen Groundhog Day? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
mate.
pretty much like this, isn't it? Yeah.
Fuck off.
Oh, but I had a
I'm
question
busy.
for you, Ollie.
Yeah.
Have you seen Groundhog Day?
Oh, Bazanga! Whoa! You just popped me right here. Oh my
so
god!
these-
comical reflection.
These jokes at the top of the program are just to kind of reel you in.
Oh, it's hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, keep the viewers interested because this is the kind of quality you can expect if you're watching this.
Oh, always, just exponential viewer content. It's amazing.
But yeah, I'm not too bad. It's I think by and large this is going out in case anyone is watching this ever. But in the future, this is going out in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, and it's I think that I'm pretty lucky, really, for very many reasons. But it is starting to feel just a bit odd. So we're about 2 months into it now, and I think I'm pretty. I'm not massively social anyway, so I wouldn't be going out all the time and kind of seeing loads of people. But I think I was quite good for quite a while, and now I'm starting to be like, I don't know, just like, okay, I've had enough of this now.
I know that one. Well, I'm supposed to be on a fucking plane right now to Israel to go and bask in the sun for a month and get paid shitloads to basically bang hot Jewish girls. I am now sat in my bedroom. I'm not going fucking anywhere. So yeah, today is a day of mourning for my penis, sadly. So yeah.
Have you put out a kind of statement to Israel to let the hot girls of Israel know that you will not be coming?
Maybe you could set up a Patreon.
Technically, I would
Or a day of mourning.
I'd be leaving tonight but landing tomorrow morning, so I was going to bust them out tomorrow. I think that's the plan.
Look, I reckon we could see this not as a punishment, but as a business opportunity. Maybe we set you up like a camboy setup. You could do provide a one-to-one.
Are you sticking me on OnlyFans, Dan? Is that what you're doing?
I don't know, but all I'm thinking is maybe there's a way you work, we will get a little piece of the action. Maybe come along for the.
You guys, but
is there a word for if we facilitate you seeing other people, but we take a cut of your profits?
Take a cut of it in sort of a
friend,
kind of a sexual
good
business
friend.
Yeah, why has no one thought of doing that before?
There's a word for that.
Yeah.
No one has thought about doing it before, so because it's a new idea, we can name it. We could come up with any name, and Money Friend or
Money Friend. Go pop off, see the money.
Financial chirp chum. So you could provide a tiered service. So maybe for the first tier, you can get 2 minutes of shirted bass playing. 2 minutes. That's the 2 minutes.
So
2 minutes.
When the tips start rolling in, I'll take off.
Tier one. This is tier one. So 2 minutes of shirted bass playing. That's bronze. Right, then
you've
got the silver.
In there, or is it just reg space?
No.
Slap has got to be a tier.
Yeah.
Surely.
So the silver tier.
So for 100 shekels, you can get the bass solo from "You Can Call Me Al," for example.
Okay, yeah. That's fine. I'll learn that.
Shirted.
500 shekels.
Shirted.
Crucially, yeah.
Yeah.
No eye contact.
500
no
shekels. You can get the whole of a Square Pusher album, completely naked.
500 shekels for a whole of the Square Pusher. How many people are going to be giving me 500 shekels? Because I'm going to be.
Oh, this is per person.
500 shekels.
That's
That's
per
per
person.
person.
That's per person.
Square Pusher album on bass.
Yeah. Oh,
By
no,
the
so
way, I'm just
one
throwing
to
out
one.
numbers here. I don't know how much 500 shekels relates to in pounds.
About
It's
exactly
high.
£100, pretty much, maybe a little bit over.
About £100.
Yeah.
That's not bad. £100 for
Oh,
a.
the Square Pusher album, that'll take me fucking, depending on the album, obviously, but that'll take me, like, literally.
Well, that's the
Okay,
that's the
right,
key.
wait.
You get to pick the album, so don't worry.
I'll find the one with there's bass on all of them, isn't there? I'll find the
Yeah.
one with the easiest bass on, basically. If it's hard normal daddy, I'm fucked.
Right, well, Ollie, wait. So the bass is only part one of the scheme. So that's one part of what we're offering, but secretly, if they were to send you an extra message, maybe you can provide another service sort of under the like under the sort of secret handshake, under the rugs.
Under the covers, under the
covers.
Under
Under
the rug.
the rugs. Under the
Under
covers.
the rug.
You know that
Under
famous saying,
the-
"Under the rug."
Under the rug. Okay, I know where you're going on that. Under the rug.
Was she passing you messages under the rug?
Under the rug.
What kind of stuff would I be doing under the rug, Dan?
Sexy stuff.
Rug stuff.
Rug stuff.
Rug-based
So
sexy stuff.
we got tier 1. What's tier 2 doing? Is that like, am I
Tier 2
clothing
is-
clothing or?
Tier,
What we're
yeah,
doing,
tier 1 even has clothing off for some of it. But tier 2...
Well, let's just put it this way: there are 10 tiers, and
Tier 2, you are.
and it ends in. I mean, what? I feel like we should go straight to tier 10
Which
and let
tier
you
is it
and let
where
you
I
fill
can't
in
stick
the.
shit up my butt? Is that's the tier I need to know.
That's
how
tier
many
two.
tiers are after
That's
that.
tier-
That's
gonna be my
tier two.
question.
That's
Tier
tier
2.
2.
Tier 2 is fucked up, right? Okay, excellent. Sweet. Wow, it's going to be one hell of a lockdown.
Think
So-
of the money. Think of the
Are
money.
you? Yeah. So that must be quite dispiriting to think about the parallel world of what could have been. you
What
know?
should have been. What
Yeah.
should be. Yeah. It's,
Well,
it's-
you know,
it's
I had
obviously-
my California disappointment. I can
Exactly.
empathise. You know, yeah.
Yeah. This is it.
Someone came
My
up with the
favourite
idea
thing
that
to do ever, and I've been denied it, and it's my job, so I've been denied all the money for it.
Yeah, so it's denied the fun and denied the money. It's like double denial. Yeah.
someone came up with the idea that there's like a many worlds theory, so that there's like the universe splits off into like multiple decision
The
gates.
Everett's many worlds theorem there, Dan.
The dad of Mark of E from Eels.
Yeah, E from Eels. Yeah.
Did you see the documentary about that?
Yes, I did.
It was-
indeed.
It's amazing. So basically, I don't know if you saw this as well, Dan, but you know, so that thing that you're talking about, the many worlds theory, was developed by the lead singer of Eel. I can't remember what his name is other than E, but his actual name. But anyway,
is he not actually called it E?
his dad was just like, yeah, fuck it, E.
I'll do.
But his dad was like very distant, and I don't think they were kind of particularly close. But he was a god of his. I don't know what even subject.
He's a very famous
experimental. I don't know.
Theoretical
Physics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Theoretical. Yeah. But anyway, so he was a kind of rock star of that world, but him and his dad weren't particularly close. And if I remember rightly, his dad died when he was not that old.
Yeah.
Old enough that he remembers him and had a relationship with him, but still, I'd have to look it up. But yeah, not he wasn't like an adult when he died. And the whole documentary is about him. So obviously he went off in a completely different, in an artistic kind of route, and his dad was a theoretical physicist, and not just any.
Drive, can't you? 2 examples: Brian Cox, old Coxie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brian
May.
You have to be called Brian to
You
do.
do.
This, but you can do
And
that.
Brian May finished his PhD when he was like in his 60s or something like that.
Yeah, he did,
So he went back after Queen and was like, yeah, bloody
fucking
do my
got that
finish my
episode 3,
piece.
why not? Yeah.
Is the answer down?
We were just like, go on, play Hammer to Full. We'll pass you.
Good
But
George
anyways,
Webby as well. The entire Queen back catalogue, Hammer to Full, is a fucking.
well, that's a good, that, I mean, it comes in with guitar, with
Oh, it's beautiful.
with the riff, But yeah.
Oh, it's fucking tour de force that is.
But it was a really if you get the chance, look up this documentary because it is really beautiful. It was like about E's attempt to kind of understand who his dad was by speaking to his old colleagues and stuff. So his dad was like a superstar of the astrophysics or experimental physics, or I don't know,
Theoretical physics.
Theoretical physics, yeah. He was a superstar of that world, and so like he was going to speak to people who were essentially like people are groupies or fans of his band. They were like, oh my god, you're his son. They had no interest that he was in Eels or was famous. They were just like,
are amazing as well.
Yeah, they're just like, oh my god, you're his son. Oh, that's incredible. Can I talk to you? And so he was kind of piecing together who his dad was by kind of his relationships with old colleagues and fans of his work and people who'd been influenced by his work, so subsequent generations of theoretical physicists. And it was a really kind of beautiful, interesting documentary. It was I think it was like a one-off thing, wasn't it? But I really
it was just a legitimately good documentary that I think spun a tale that I think anyone would enjoy, even if you don't like physics or the Eels.
Yeah, because it's like two people who became incredibly successful in different fields who never really had a relationship while they were alive.
Yeah.
And one of them is, the son is kind of, I guess, learning to understand and appreciate his dad's work, because although they're completely different, they both have this kind of slight obsessive dedication to their craft, albeit in completely different areas. And so through kind of talking to people, and learning how, I guess, innovative and creative and, his dad was in his field, he kind of, in a kind of bizarre way, got a bit closer to him and understood and, and saw a bit more of himself in him, in a relationship that they unfortunately never got to have while he was alive. So, yeah, it's really interesting. I really liked it. It's been years, a long time since I watched it, though.
Yeah, it was. I think you recommended it to me, Webbs. To be fair, it would have been like Park Days, probably.
Yeah.
Around about then, I guess.
Well, so part of what I was going to say was that, like, that that idea that every decision there's like a new reality, basically, that every decision causes that. And someone was suggesting the idea that maybe we branched off and we've ended up on the darkest timeline, which is like a premise from a.
Dude, if you think this is the darkest timeline we can get.
No, I'm not saying that. I just, as an idea, I find that quite funny. It's just like, at some point there was a decision, and it was like, I wonder what point for us, the turning point.
That was the decision.
Yeah, where was it? Where did we go wrong?
No, cooking unprepared bats, I guess.
Yeah.
Prepare your bats, people.
Wash your bats correctly. If you're going to eat some bats, make sure you do it right.
Interestingly, a lot of the stuff to do with like how countries deal with these things seems to have been neglected recently, and it's really bizarre because I keep watching like documentaries about people doing like there was Obama was saying about there's like an interview of Obama where he's talking about it like 2015. Bill Gates talks about it in 2015, and all these people were like were hot on it. And then there was like films like Contagion, and all these things like there was the show Utopia. All of these shows like sort of, like when you sort of see it and you go, oh man, look at all this stuff that's out there. There's already been. They've already talked about it. Like
it's quite obvious that it's going to happen. It's just when.
Yeah. Well, COVID-19 is a version of. Like one of many versions of the coronavirus. And people were publishing about that. Someone shared on Twitter, like at the start of this, just one of a few papers that people had published like a decade ago, saying if there's a new strain of this coronavirus, basically saying, so in a science journal, but the kind of gist of the paper was these coronavirus are incredibly adaptable, incredibly aggressive, and really problematic. And if there's a new strain of this, or one that we can't, if it adapts and it's likely to something that we can't deal with, basically we're fucked. And this was public. And this was like
kind of plan before this happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Obama had the plan.
And this was this.
No Obama.
But this paper, this research was like, really old research. It's not, at least a decade old, I think it was.
It makes fucking sense though, doesn't it? Like, as a viral strain, that if it adapts or morphs into something else, then it's gonna fuck everyone. So
it's really funny because think about all this money we spend on all these pointless things. So like say we were to say to each country in the world, like, here's some money, right, and you can spend it on you can use the term protection in any loose manner that you feel. So whatever you imagine will protect your people, here is a
everyone gets an AK-47 done.
Exactly. But the reality is that like when they do have those moments where they go, right, this is what we're going to do to protect everybody, they use the money in a really stupid and foolish manner, and it's just really bizarre, isn't it? Like if we spent half the money we spend on every form of like attacking other countries and fucking other people up and all this stuff, or like preparing to get attacked from all these countries, and even thought about doing some stuff to protect ourselves from these things, which are probably going to be the real thing that's going to get us. It's not going to be terrorism or war.
No.
It's just going to be something really stupid, isn't it? It's just going to be something like this, but just worse.
Yeah,
what it is.
Well, like the history of of humankind really is like the history of adapting to and some overcoming or not various different viruses and things.
Totally, yeah. Basically, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, of course, because things that would. Or like
flu,
or cholera or tuberculosis. They, or I mean, I know they're not viruses necessarily, but there were things that killed us.
AIDS,
perfect. Things that killed us 20 years ago. Well, like the 80s to 90s, like people were dying like fuck, of AIDS, and now you can be HIV positive and live a full healthy life with the help, with the aid of medicine that you have to take regularly. For the help of AIDS.
The AIDS of AIDS, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But that's so it's not a death sentence anymore, but only because we've had to really work hard. Well, I say I've done very little.
Well done, Joe.
Because us three have worked really hard.
Really hard all these fucking years.
Got very little credit for that.
That's why we do this. Where is it?
But I mean, but the thing is, I talk as someone completely uninformed on this whole subject, but all I know is that things, viruses adapt, mutate, and and so eventually one comes along which you are not prepared for, which the vaccines that you've created for previous, viruses of a similar ilk don't work for, and I mean, this is a perfect storm, and we're kind of fucked. It's just really sad to see.
It's not the best, is it? Basically, but on a lighter subject, so I've heard you got a game here, Joe Webb.
I have. Okay, so I, full disclosure, as I did tell you earlier, but I came up with this game in my own head, and I thought I was going to Google. So the game is, you get two disparate things. And you have to guess which one is older. And I thought this would be interesting because some things are much older than you think they are, and some things are much more recent than you think they are. So I thought if you put those two things together, could be fun. Anyway, I didn't have time to do it, so I just Googled it as we started talking, and I found someone had created this exact quiz. And not only had they created this exact quiz, it's on a website which is my name, called joe.co.uk. So So I mean, the many worlds timeline. I might have stumbled into my own alternative universe.
Yeah, they cross paths basically. Yeah.
Yeah, where I created a game. But the exciting thing about this is because I didn't create it, the alternative reality Joe did. I don't know the answers because I'm not in that timeline. So we can all play together.
Oh,
Excellent.
So that's nice. Okay, so I'm going to give you two things, and we are all going to guess which one we think is older.
Okay. Do we need a pen and paper or anything, or we're all right?
Let's just do it question by question.
Question by question, yeah.
All right. Which is older, the modern Olympics or Nintendo? So we're not talking about, Olympics invented in Greece. We're talking about when it was brought back. So it was kind of. So what's older, the modern Olympics or Nintendo?
Nintendo is over 100 years old.
Okay, so that's going to be a trick question then.
Whoa,
so I think.
Can we elaborate on that, Dan Reed? Nintendo is over 100 years old.
There used to be a card company, like a playing card company.
Ah, curveball. And when was the modern Olympics introduced? Was it like 1896?
No, it was 19 something, I think.
Oh right, okay, so last century.
Yeah, I think it was early 1900s. So we're going to go Nintendo. Let's see.
Yeah.
We are correct. It unfortunately doesn't give us any information about, either thing. You just that's all you get. One's older than the other. You don't get when the modern Olympics was invented. Anyway,
that's all you're getting, Webb. You just get the answer.
Yeah. If I'd have, I can't really criticize because I didn't create this. But if I'd have done it, I would have given additional information. Okay. Yeah. So which is older, Tim Westwood or the Big Mac?
Okay, I don't know, but I know Ollie knows this information or is very excited about it. So,
well, the thing with the old Big Mac, like McDonald's was invented. What was it, the 50s?
Yeah, I'd say around then. Yeah.
But were the original burgers like? When did the Big Mac come out?
Yeah,
they always had a Big Mac. That's something I don't actually know about.
I've got a feeling that the Big Mac wasn't from the very start. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was all.
Started with a Mac,
just a singular Mac.
And someone said,
Mac.
"Do you have one of those but bigger?" And they were like, "Get out of my restaurant."
This is as big as a Mac will ever.
So I reckon. I don't know. I'm going to say Tim Westwood.
I'm going to go for Westwood just because I feel like this Joe.co.uk is basically trying to sort of
who is Tim Westwood?
Get you in with false, not false, but obvious information. So I'm just going to go for the opposite of what you think it would be on every question.
Tim Westwood is a kind of hip hop DJ on Radio 1, or used to be on Radio 1. And he is kind of famed for being, I think he's a vicar's son, but he kind of talks in a kind of like, yo, Tim Westwood.
Yeah, rude boy accent and vocabulary. But actually, if you hear him speak like he actually speaks, it's completely different.
So it's a little bit like Vinyl Junkie.
It's a bit like, he's like the precursor to Vinyl Junkie. But Westwood did introduce like hip-hop and rap music into the UK in terms of sort of media exposure. We had a massive part in that. So as comedic as his whole character is, he's actually quite a sort of a big sort of, I don't know, he's an influential guy, which I didn't know until, because obviously I used to fucking rip Westwood. And I was like, actually, no, he's got something about him, that guy. But when was he born? How old is he? Must be like 50-ish now.
I'm going older. So I can tell you the answer is it is Tim Westwood. He is older than the Big Mac.
Okay,
but,
why? I want facts.
So I know this is terrible, isn't it? So just for your information, Tim Westwood is 62.
Fuck off, really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And the Big Mac was invented in 1967.
Wow.
And Tim Westwood was born in 1957, so he's 10 years older than the Big Mac.
So he's the original Big Mac then, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Excuse me, 10-year-old Tim Westwood, we want to use your name, the Big Mac, for our burger, for our restaurant.
He gets a
Oh,
cut of every
lovely.
burger. He gets a euro.
Yeah.
Not a euro. What's this?
You
a
could have
pound,
€1.
a cent.
I
He
know
gets a
that. I
cent
know that.
per burger.
I know that currency doesn't exist yet, but in the future that will make sense to you. And boy, will you be loving life. When
Okay,
that comes, cash comes in.
So the next one is is Michael B. Jordan or Microsoft Windows. So Michael B. Jordan is an actor who was in Black Panther.
Okay.
Michael
right.
Michael A. Jordan was Michael Air Jordan.
Michael A. Old A. Jordan. Yeah.
What's his
The B.
real
Jordan.
middle name?
The slightly inferior Jordan. In
B.
Black
Jordan.
Panther, I don't know. I've never heard of him.
He's in The Wire, isn't he?
I don't know. I'll take your word for that. I don't know that.
How old does he look in The Wire?
Small, like a child.
So I would say, rough guess, he's about 35 now. I'm guessing he's about that.
And Microsoft Windows came out in what, the 80s?
Do you reckon the first Windows is like 1991, something like that?
Do you reckon?
So
They had 95, obviously.
Yeah, they had something like
3.1.
that. Yeah, they had like numbered before they went for like 95 and then 98 and then.
Yeah.
I think the first
Vista.
Windows. I've got a feeling that the first Windows would have been like crazy early, because like you said, like when they started being popular and kind of commercially used widely, it was like, I guess early 90s, but like Windows 1 or whatever it was.
Yeah, Windows. I'm going to say
was in his garage and like
mid to late 80s, I reckon. Yeah.
So that's a tough call then, because then they're both around the 80s. We're thinking.
I think that the memory, the like age that you need to think about is like when in films did it become. What years did it become like window looking like, and not just lines of like green code? Do you know what I mean? Like, there was a point in technology in film where it changed over.
Well, it was still green code in the Matrix, and that was kind of 2005. So. Okay, I don't know. I can't call this one actually.
I'm gonna go for Windows, as in.
I think
Windows. That's obviously not Michael B. Jordan, is it? Yeah, Windows.
Okay, so we're saying Windows is older. All right. Correct.
Hey.
Do you know what? If I'm honest, I was gonna say Jordan, and then I just sat quietly. But
so
I would have been wrong.
Well, it's all right. We're kind of playing collaboratively here. We're 3 for 3. Now this one is particularly difficult because I don't think any of us are going to know who this person is. So 1 second. I'm gonna look him up so that you can. Okay. So Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe. I'm just going to tell you how.
Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah. Do you know who he is?
No. Do tell.
Kylian.
Okay, he's a French footballer.
Oh, I love his football.
Okay, he's a French footballer who is playing currently, or the Sony PlayStation. Sony PlayStation. I'm guessing Sony PlayStation is older.
I'm gonna guess.
Sony PlayStation is about 92.
Okay, Sony PlayStation is older, so we're correct on that. Okay, mobile phones or hip hop. Now that's a bit of a spurious one because it all depends when you decide what the first hip hop. Yeah, but
do you want to know what my stepdad John used to have a mobile phone, and it was like in a briefcase in his car. This like briefcase mobile phones. So they are quite old.
They are quite old. With the mobile phones, late 70s, early 80s, late 70s.
I reckon it's mobile phones.
Well, I guess it depends what you say. The first hip hop song is, because some people consider the first hip hop song to be "Gil Scott Heron." The revolution will not be televised.
Yeah.
which was, I'm just looking it up now. I mean, I'm cheating a bit, but yeah, whatever. Whatever. It was 1970. That's 1971.
Yeah,
The revolution will not be
71. I mean,
televised. So I would have thought mobile phones were later than 71, but it all depends on what Joe.com,
yeah, because a lot of people considering like fucking things like Rapper's Delight being the first kind of hip hop song, which it wasn't to start off with, but that would have been what, 80s? I don't know. This is a tricky one.
79 is Rapper's Delight.
I'm gonna go because they want me to for mobile phones is older.
Mobile phones.
You are correct. Mobile phones, according to Joe.com. Okay, Taylor Swift or Sky Sports?
Sky Sports.
Yeah, I think Sky Sports. Okay, no. Taylor Swift is older than Sky Sports. Okay.
Oh, fuck off! No.
That's the first one we got wrong. We should have. That's the only one we haven't debated, and we were.
How old is Sky Sports then? I'm sure people had Sky Sports when we were children. Holy shit! How old is Taylor Swift? I haven't even thought about that.
Taylor Swift. Sky Sports is 30 years old.
Taylor Swift is evidently younger than that. Older.
Taylor Swift is what? Why didn't I? It's also 30, but just younger. So they were. So they're both 30 years old, but like, one came out. Sky Sports came out earlier in the year. Lord of the Rings or Arsene Wenger? So when was Lord of the Rings? You know what? I don't actually know. Tolkien was. I'm guessing because he wrote it after the First World War. So I'm guessing it came out like he was involved in the First World War. So let's say it was published in the.
Oh fucking! It's got to be Lord of the Rings then, isn't it?
In the 30s. I think Lord of the Rings. Although
Lord of the Rings as well.
Okay. No, Arsene Wenger's older.
How the fuck is Arsene Wenger? How old is Arsene Wenger?
700 years old.
It's eternal.
Eternal. I am Arsene Wenger.
Or maybe it's this. Okay, you know what? I might have got it wrong, guys. It might have been the Second World War that he was involved in.
But also, how old is fucking Arsene Wenger?
He's 70 years old.
Is he? Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I live eternally.
I thought it was the First World War. He was. So Lord of the.
I feel
No, 1937. It was. So hold on.
37.
So it was the First World War that he was involved in.
Yeah.
So it is technically older than Arsene Wenger because it was developed. Well, it depends how you define it because it was written in stages between 1937 and 1949. So if you say when he was writing it, it's older than Arsene Wenger.
It's a bit ambiguous, this, isn't it?
It is. Okay, so I'm gonna
definite date born.
Yeah.
A work of literary art.
Okay, I'm going to ramp through the last three. There are 20 of these, but we're not going to do 20 because it's starting to get boring. So let's go for a few quickfire. I'm going to pick individually. So I'll do one, Ollie does one, and then Dan does one, and that's the way we'll end it on some kind of. I'm trying to build up the tension. I'm trying to build up the tension here. All right, Ollie, you've got 3 seconds to answer. What's older, the Mona Lisa or sandwiches?
1, 2, 3.
Sandwiches. Sandwich. You are wrong. It's the Mona Lisa. Okay. Dan, what's older, Scooby-Doo or the Godfather film?
Scooby-Doo.
You are correct. Well done, Dan. Okay, my one. What's older, South Park or What's the Story Morning Glory? South Park. No, it's What's the Story Morning Glory.
Glory, yeah. South Park was a couple of years later than that.
Oh, of course it was. I know that. I watched the first.
Is when it came out in England, anyway.
Jesus Christ. Okay, a quick last 3. Ollie. Yeah, it's no, you've done it. Yeah, you've done it. This is just for fun now. You've won. Okay. UFC, Ultimate Fighting Club, whatever it's called, or Dua Lipa.
What's the second thing?
Dua Lipa, she's a
Dua
pop star.
Lipa, I presume, is older.
Is older. No Ultimate Fighting. Okay, Dan. Romeo and Juliet or the USA? What's older?
Romeo and Juliet.
Bang on. He is again. Oh, God, this is a tough one. Hulk Hogan or Barack Obama? I think Hulk Hogan.
That's a tricky one.
It's got to be Hulk Hogan.
Hulk.
Yeah, it is. It is Hogan. Okay. So there we go. We finished on who's older, Hulk Hogan or Barack Obama. You are welcome.
We haven't lost it. Games have not lost it. We still got it. We bring him in and out.
We're just not creating our own games anymore. Just getting them from Joe.com.
Has got any more games on there?
Any more games on? Let's have a look.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some quiz. There's a whole quiz section.
Holy fuck! I mean, this could be a regular feature.
We're just gonna play games from Joe.com. Okay. Okay. So there is there's a pub quiz. There's a quiz about how well do you know the films of Matt Damon. There's lots of pub quizzes, which are just kind of general all-purpose quizzes, I guess.
Oh, okay.
There's loads of pub quizzes. How well do you know the Office UK Christmas special? That's a very specific one.
That's very specific, but I reckon it'll be all right at that.
Yeah, I think that's the one
times.
I think that's the one I would excel at. How can you identify the Natalie Portman movie from a single image?
These are very specific.
Yeah. Who said it? Colleen Rooney or Jessica Fletcher? Then there's so lots of mostly they're pub quizzes.
Okay. Well, there's content.
Can you pass the 2019 British citizenship test? That would be a good one for us.
Fucking hell, yeah. Okay, yeah, we should definitely do that next time.
Because the citizenship test, obviously Anya had to take that in order to get her British citizenship, and I helped her revise. And
did you know any of it?
Yeah, I did because it's not. Yeah, because it's not all. A lot of it's to do with British culture. So the things that were tricky, is. Things that were to do with either law or history, which you either know or you don't. But
you don't know, yeah. It's not really knowing something about a country at all.
There were a lot of things that were like you would just know if you'd grown up here. Like,
right, yeah.
Like, I think there was for example, there was a question about like a Sunday, like it was about like cultural stuff. Like there was a question about a Sunday roast. There was stuff. I don't know. Like there was stuff about
whose house party was it?
Program did the phrase coin that Ricky come from? Stuff like that.
I don't think. Yeah, maybe not that, but like.
Right? They don't know about EastEnders.
Who's famous?
You know what?
Which famous
public? It might not have been that specific, like EastEnders catchphrase, but there probably was something about like EastEnders or Coronation Street. Like some generic question about.
Yeah. Maybe
like,
popular British soap.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, but then there was a lot of stuff about which king of England came after, or something like that. So it was pretty, like I mean, I was going to say I learned a lot. I remember none of it now, but at the time, in that split second where I found out the answer, I learned. I learned it. Yeah.
Mega British right there. You were like King of Britain.
Also, what's quite interesting about the whole process is that when you go along to the ceremony, you you have to swear allegiance to the Queen, and there's a big picture of the Queen, and there's in order for it to be sanctioned or I don't know official, there has to be a representative of the Queen. So there's like some guy's job. Well, not just some guy, lots of people, men and women, whose job it is to like be the stand-in for the Queen in all of these things. Otherwise, you can't have it. You have to have like the royal, stand-in person who's like
that would be
the Queen can't be here today, but I'm the Queen for today.
That would be a really great plot point on a sitcom where like this guy gets wronged, and he's like, "I'll get you back one day," and then it eventually ends up with him having to come like to meet this come to bears with this guy again at some point in need of something. Yeah, I'll I like that as being the. So, like, imagine like that being the reason that you have to meet this guy again is that he is that guy. So you had to go and like,
Oh, okay.
imagine like there being
I see,
a
okay.
plot point where like you have to go and see him, and the reason being that is that job. That's just quite a weird job. I mean, like that's quite a weird job.
Well, it's not the kind of thing that comes up on like when you're at school and you like fill in the test and it's like, oh, you can be a lorry driver or you could be a teacher. It's like you could be a stand-in for the Queen in citizenship ceremonies.
Like the idea that just that this person's just like, no fucking way, mate.
Yeah.
I remember you.
What's that? Liz? Yeah. She says no. Sorry. I've got Liz on the blower. She's not happy. She's not happy with your face.
Describe him. Yeah, he's a bit of a cunt.
So it's really interesting, and it's quite like, as you might expect, it's quite like an antiquated ceremony because it's all full of tradition, all that kind of stuff. So you have to pledge allegiance to the Queen, which is already quite an interesting concept, as you don't have to do that if you're born here.
Like, no. You cut the Queen off if you're born here, you're fine, but yeah.
But you're also asked if you, I mean, at least, in the one that we went to, do you want to swear by God, to God as well? Or do you just want to do it to the Queen only? Is it to God and the Queen or just to the Queen? So you don't have a no Queen option.
Is there a booth? Is there a God-proof booth?
I think you just have to cross your fingers. But then,
no listening, God. No listen. This is just for the Queen.
But what was quite interesting is that they had to because it's a different pledge. They had to separate everyone by whether you were a God person or a non-God person. So all of the God people were on one side of the room, and all of the non-God people were on the other. And I thought,
they're starting a mini war already. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that's interesting.
What was the split like? Was it like 50-50 or was it?
But yeah, I'd say it was 50-50. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So a lot of people who still like the gods. Yeah, fair dues.
Lot of there's a lot of God people out there, aren't there?
Yeah, they're sort of just hidden about. You just wouldn't even know. Like my agent's a god. Not a god, but
your agent's God. Is that why you're playing in Israel?
Yeah.
Ollie, this is God on the line. Would you like to play Israel? There's lots of girls there.
Can we not get some other countries? I'm pretty big in Israel.
It's really big there.
Israel's kind of my home turf. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, lovely stuff indeed.
Have we run out of stuff to talk about?
No, I'm just reading after listening. It's just like.
Oh, I'm just thinking about dinner.
Have you not had dinner?
No.
What have you got for what have you got for your dins?
Steak and chips.
Nice.
Which would be fucking fantastic. But yeah. But I did a workout before this, and then it overextended by a long time.
Can I ask you what's your workout schedule?
Workout schedule? Well, if you're asking, Joe Webb.
I am, yeah. So how often and how long?
Pilates.
Could we live stream it?
What? You want to live stream my workout?
I reckon we could combine we come full circle, couldn't we?
Is that one of the tiers?
Yeah, this could be one of the final tiers.
The workout. Okay, lovely. No, 6 days a week Pilates, 11 a.m. sharp every day, apart from one of the days when I've been drinking, and then.
Okay, yeah, Karen, yeah.
And then weights, different isolated groups 4 times a week. That is my workout schedule. Done.
So what got you into Pilates?
My old housemate Abbo. Thank you, Abbo.
And is it really good? What do you get out of it?
Amazing. Yeah. It's ridiculously good for course anything core strengthy wise, flexibility. Yeah, that kind of shit. It's awesome. I can now bend down and pick up, I don't know, a penny from the floor if necessary. Whereas before,
you love pennies. Yeah.
That's going to pay for itself, isn't it?
How long have you been doing Pilates for?
Since the start of lockdown. So this will be the 8th week, 7th week.
Okay, so you've gone from not being able to bend down and pick up something, as in like straight legged, right, to being able to do it.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily that. It's more the like when you're in the supermarket and there's something on the bottom shelf, and it's like I've not bought anything from a bottom shelf in the supermarket in my entire life, just because the fact it's such a pain to actually get down there and get it. Now I'm like all the shit. I'm like exclusive bottom shelf for now. So
now you're a bottom feeder.
I'm a bottom feeder, mate. Yeah, it's literally a bottom feeder. Yeah.
Can I say something? This is what I want. Basically, this is what I really want to know in Slapback. I basically just want to like pick at the strings of what makes the decisions in all of your minds. And what do you know what I mean?
That was the string for my bottom feeding, basically.
Yeah, but like that's such a weird thing. It's like,
sorry, Dan, carry on.
I'm just gonna say it's such a weird thing because like I've known you forever and ever and ever, and like obviously like there's sometimes people just get away with doing stuff that you just go, that's just part of their character. But then when you find out the real reason why they never buy things from the bottom shelf, Ollie, there's that thing that you love. It's on the bottom shelf. No.
Just no. No.
Who do you think I am?
Yeah, exactly right.
A bending McLean face.
On a shopping related note, doing the weights makes it easy to carry the shopping home. Yes, win-win.
So what's your what weights are you doing?
What weights?
Yeah. Like as in like all free weights, or if you got like a bench press?
Weights. Well, basically, obviously no gyms, so it's whatever we got in the house. So we've got a lot of weights and a bench. So
and so you got and how long does it take you to do your weights workout?
Well, we do it with 3 people, so you have to wait for everyone else to do their shit as well. So today took about an hour and a half-ish, an hour 25, something like
that. Okay.
How much of that hour 25 were you doing exercise?
Divided by 3, half an hour.
Very nice.
Without any resting. Yeah, if you didn't rest, it would take half an hour to do all the things.
Yeah. I did have one of the things that sounds a bit trite, but at the start of the lockdown, I think this wasn't unique to me, but I think a lot of people, myself included, had visions of like the possibilities of who you could be by the end of lockdown. The opportunity. I mean, I know it's terrible what's happening, but like the fact is, everyone's locked down. You've got to make the best of it, and you kind of think, well, there are opportunities for self-improvement, or all of the, what can I do?
In general.
Yeah, what I could learn a language, I could write a book, I could, I could finally get in good shape, I could blah 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 blah. Anyway, I've developed a really heavy drinking habit. Is what I've done.
You're a pro drinker.
Yeah.
But then I think actually, to be honest, right, it's lovely to have this attitude of like, I'm gonna master something, I'm gonna use my time creatively. But reality is, this is your time. You do what you want with it, really, and you can utilize that in whatever way makes you happy. And some people just that it's nice to have that release and not worry, isn't it?
I think the thing is, I mean, so technically I'm working full time, so I am like working every day.
And you have a baby.
Yeah, and
a lot of your time's taken up, Mr. Joe.
I mean, I will be honest, he's taken up way more time than I thought he would. I mean, it's basically a full-time job. He's just. I don't know.
What does he pay? How much does he pay?
Well, it depends what currency you're talking. If you're talking soiled nappies, I'm quids in.
Why is that?
I was going to say I'm rolling in it, but that's not an apt.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
I can't wait till we find out what it is that children shit out that we need to collect. But that's going to be an amazing
the key to you
for society.
Yeah.
Like literally, you can save 10
if you
years of your life if you lick
their feces.
You lick yum up every ounce of their shit.
I did think that I had kind of visions of like, okay, so I'm working from home every day. But that's kind of slightly more relaxed than normal because other people aren't able to do as much as they usually do. So everything's kind of slowing down. Like I'm not writing as much as I should be, just simply because I have to go and look after Danny. And even though Anya's there to on maternity leave, it kind of like you can't be in the same house as a 6-month-old baby and not like be co-parenting.
Yes, you can't just like, well, you're on maternity leave.
I'm closing the door. Nothing to do with me.
The me shit. Yeah.
So obviously, and also even though she's on maternity leave, there's stuff that she needs to do for work as well. Unfortunately, that's the nature of academia. So we're kind of she's doing more, but we're sharing it as much as possible. So like at the moment, she's doing, or for the last kind of couple of weeks, anyways, she's been doing 4 days, and then I've been taking over on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so that she has some time off. But anyway, so yeah, anyway, I had all these visions of like getting super buff and and fit and doing Pilates, because I have not been able to touch my toes in fucking years. Been a long time since I've touched my toes. And so I really, my flexibility is awful, and the older, we're young-ish, but we're not young anymore, and the older you get...
Things are getting harder. Everything's getting harder.
Well, the thing is, I started making noises when I got up. Like the other, I started noticing about a year ago, if I got up from a funny position, I'd go, oof. Ooh. Like I'd make one of those noises, like old men make. I was like, oh shit, that happened. I like, I mean, there's things that you can't do anything about. Like, I'm thinking about shaving my head this week because there's less and less point in keeping any hair there. But like at least I can actually have some flexibility. I can not make noises when I get up. So I have that option.
There are options,
Yeah.
Joe, let's make a pledge, right? Me and you. It sounds like Ollie can already touch the floor. Let's make a pledge, me and you, right now, that we will be able to touch the floor without making a noise in the near future. 1 month.
1 month.
Now.
1 month.
12.
No,
1 month.
Give me. Let's say 6 weeks. I don't believe in myself.
No, it's a month. It's a month. You've got 31 days.
You got
You'll be able to
31 days. Yeah.
And if you can do it, I will give you £1 English pound.
Okay, if you can
do it. And Ollie will, yeah, exactly. If I can do it, I don't have to pay it. And if you can't do it, if I can do it and you can't do it, you've got to give me £1 English pound. And Ollie's going to make the bet up by 99 extra pounds to make it £100.
Okay, what's I'm trying to think. What's the way to go about doing it? Is it just
Ollie's going to teach us? Ollie's going to teach us. Ollie's going to live stream this.
Are you going to?
We're going to pay.
Are you going to Joe Wicks?
We're going to 1 month program with Cassie Ho, who's amazing. She's like a really, really, really super American lady who's obviously incredibly enthusiastic about everything, and she talks all the way fucking through the routines about just ridiculous things like, oh, do you remember those lollipops the Spice Girls had? Oh, I had one of those when I was a kid. What the fuck are you going on about, Cassie Ho? Anyway. Which is great. So I'll send you a 1 month program of that, and you have to stick to it. Then you'll be able to touch your toes. Probably.
How long is each workout?
It varies. They start off the first week beginners. Pop Pilates is, I'd say, probably 20 minutes, something like that. Top.
Should we before we get off the phone? Let's do right now. Let's do where we're at as far as like what our actual real, like honest, without cheating. And like over egging it up. I'll put on my lights. Right, I'll reach over and grab something off the floor. I bet I can. But let's just see what it looks like in terms of flexibility. Yeah.
What do you mean? You want to grab something off the floor?
Yeah, like a before. Have a before and after. Well, you just trust that we're gonna do it on trust. Trust that.
No, okay. Here you go. Look. So
I have to take my headphones off if I'm going to do it.
I'm touching the floor right now.
All right, a minute.
So this is where the floor is.
Okay.
Look.
wonder if I can. I see if I can angle it to get the floor. I don't know if I can.
Joe.
Okay.
Joe.
So that's how far
Joe,
That's how
can you
far
not
I.
just-
Wait.
Can you not just bounce? Can you not just bounce and do it? So you don't just do it like. You just
I
go
can't.
like, boing.
No. I can't get anywhere near my toes.
Okay.
That's
1
how.
month, mate. You got 1 month.
That's how far away I am. So it's quite far. That was about a foot away.
No, you weren't a foot away. No,
No, I don't think you were a
few
foot away.
inches.
You're about
Let's have a look.
half
Okay,
half
let's
a
see.
foot.
Do it again.
Okay.
Just snap. Just go quick. Just pop it quick.
I reckon.
Yeah, that's
you're
it.
about
Go
4
up.
inches off.
Start up, Joe. Start up, standing up, and then just go. Bang down. Quick. Pop.
Back on.
Oh.
Enjoy your hamstrings tomorrow, Webbs.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah. So, but the one compensation is well, not compensation, but I guess my caveat is that I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember ever being able to touch my toes. I think since I was an adult, I don't think I've been able to touch my toes.
I couldn't do it when I was a kid, to be fair.
Really?
Yeah,
But you can
yeah.
now.
No, the
Okay.
first time I could touch my toes, Gwyn taught me how to, because she used to do yoga. So she taught me how to touch my toes without having to do any extra bullshit. Can't remember what it was, but it helped, I think. But yeah, and then I don't know. So since start doing exercise, I guess it makes sense, really. But yeah, you got 1 month toe touching, floor touching.
Touch your
sorry.
toes. Touch your
Okay.
toes.
Floor.
Joe, it's going to start with you having to learn the snap and bounce technique. The sprung. You know, get
You
a bit.
don't want to be
Get a
learning
bit
the
of
snap
action.
and bounce technique.
Get a
That
bit.
sounds
Get a
like
bit
a
of
recipe for muscle
Get a bit of
disaster.
moment. Don't listen to Ollie. Get a little bit of momentum. You know, just give it like a. Imagine you're an Olympian and you're just about to do it. All that's holding you back. All that's holding you back is your mind. You're like in the
not your body,
Matrix.
it's your
It's
mind.
like the
That's
Matrix.
the thing you need
It's
to
like, you know, on the Matrix where he goes, "Do you think this is air you're breathing? Do you think that's whiskey you're drinking?"
I don't know what's anything anymore. Is this another parallel universe thing?
Yeah.
Maybe in a parallel, maybe in a multi-universe, you can do it.
Maybe I can do it in this one. I just need to disregard the tight horrible feeling that my body has when I do it. It's just push past that.
Oh yeah, no one's disputing it might hurt. I'm not saying. I'm just saying you can do it.
You're gonna snap a tendon, but you'll get right down there.
You'll
be down there. If it comes down to winning, getting down there, you will have won. So
I'm okay. So we've got 1 month. I'm gonna get down there. I'm gonna get right down there.
Yeah, right
I
now.
spent the day listening to the whole Quincy discography.
Nice.
And it was excellent. I did all the singles. I did everything. It was good.
Is that the whole Ben Garnett?
I already had it. In fact, I feel like I've shared that with you before.
I don't think so. Well, not on SoundCloud. Not SoundCloud.
It's not on SoundCloud. No, I
No.
didn't share it with you.
I didn't mean SoundCloud. I meant Dropbox. Don't know why.
No, I don't think I shared it with you on Dropbox. I think I just shared the whole file. But it's good. Have you had a chance to listen to it, Ollie?
No.
It's good. It's pretty good.
I need to
It's
actually
pretty-
listen to it. I need some work. If I can get some work and bang it on the background, do some reminiscing package in my brain, get on with some fucking work. But at the minute,
like there's like a lot of the things that I came away feeling were like some of the decisions they made towards, like, for example, the Alien thing, or like After Dark, for example, the single version of After Dark might be the worst version of it.
Well, it's really, I absolutely agree. It's really interesting. So for people who aren't aware, Quincy were a band who were that we really love, but they weren't very big outside of our small town in Cornwall, and it's a crying shame because they have many fantastic songs, and for whatever reason they kind of imploded before anyone else really got to hear them. So they didn't make a big enough impact at the time. It was kind of it wasn't pre-internet, but it was kind of pre-everything being put on the internet days.
Yeah.
So they didn't make a big enough impact at the time that you could even find stuff on the internet of them now, unfortunately. But it's one of the very, very many cases of a fantastically talented, brilliant band who, for whatever reason, just quirks of fate, didn't get the recognition or didn't quite get the breaks that would have that should have resulted in them being, more popular than they were, because they were brilliant. And the music, we're still listening to it now, and it genuinely has stood the test of time. It's really, really good. And so we're talking about kind of early 2000s, no, late 90s, early 2000s.
Russell,
late 90s, I'd say.
Ben has put 1999, 2000, up to 2002. I think he put the album out as.
Okay. But what's really interesting is we have this whole, because I guess we knew people who were kind of semi-involved in the band and all that kind of stuff, or Dan's in a band with someone who was in the band, but that's not where we're getting our stuff from. We have lots of kind of demo versions of stuff, so you can see the kind of certain songs, you can see the evolution across 2, 3, or even sometimes like 4 versions of the same song. And usually what you get when you listen to an album is you just go, okay, that's the version there is. I don't know any other version of it. So that's, you get one version of the song, you don't think anything else other than that's the kind of, that's the only version you'll ever know. And it's really interesting to see how to hear the choices that bands make about what, how they, not just how they record it, but the things that they keep in, the way they produce it, the instrumentation they use, what they strip out or keep in. And I guess it's the typical fan thing of like, you listen back and you don't always agree with them.
Yeah.
It's the typical fan thing of being like, oh, I like the version that you recorded on the on the 1-track tape recorder. In the
what is they call it's got a name, isn't it? Demoitis, I think, is the term, isn't it? Where you just like, but like, there's like Quincy, for me, are definitely a band that like I feel that about a lot of their tunes. Like, there's loads of times where they go and do something and you go like, that for me, like maybe the version on Big and Clever is better.
Yeah.
Or
I think there's with some bands are so talented and have such kind of a high degree of either kind of recording proficiency or knowledge about recording techniques or songwriting techniques or or musical ideas that they can never stop tinkering. And and sometimes it's capturing a song in a kind of slightly rough and ready way can be
potential, isn't it?
Yeah, that you can capture something in that which, if you over record it or keep adding new ideas to it or keep funking around with the different it can somehow lose something along the way. And for me, like, wrestling's a good example of that. So I'm not a big fan of the there's a song called Wrestling that Quincy did, and I'm not a big fan of the version on the final album that they made of Wrestling, but the version that's on the the original demos is fantastic. The version that's on the live version is brilliant, but they had so many kind of bells and whistles and tricks and stuff, and they changed bits and pieces around that by the time it got to the album, it's like some kind of, I don't know.
I guess it's really hard, isn't it? Because they have to make the decision to, like, that song, probably they've played that song, although for us it feels like, not a big amount of time, like 3 years is quite a long time. Imagine you've got the song, you demo it, you play it live, you go to record it on the album, and like, by that point, you're bored of that song. That song's no longer fun for you. You've done it and done it. And so you want to do something different with it, and you want to like make it different for the fans. And so you do something different, and you like, because you can't justify going into the studio and going, I'm just going to do a better. I'm just going to do the same.
Well,
the same exact version, but just better recorded. I think that's rare for people to want to do.
I think that the natural inclination is to want to
do something better. You want to
to change it for the better. But of course, like, the more you tinker, you could make it better, or you could kind of change what was good about it. But what's quite funny is I was having this very same conversation with Russell Garnett, dearly departed Russell Garnett, and he we had a long WhatsApp conversation about Quincy yesterday, and he made a very good point, which is that, so we were talking about the relative strengths of the demos and the final versions, and how we, you know, they've tinkered a little bit too much sometimes with some songs, and some songs have been made better, and we preferred the final versions, and some songs we kind of preferred the demo versions. And his point was that we were in a band called El Majestico, and we recorded all of our 5 best songs, or our 5 catchiest songs, remixed them and re-recorded them to be new rave. So we like
the 2000s happened.
Yeah, and we recorded one song called Going Supernova, which was, it just so happened to be, it wasn't a calculated thing, but it just so happened to be that the song was quite kind of dancey, and our managers said, yeah, really like this. This is the good sound. This is the sound now.
This is the sound.
You must make
Can you change all of your? So we'd spent about, I don't know, 2 years where they kept saying like, okay, you've got 2 singles, or like 3 singles. You just need the 4th one. You just come on.
What were they? What were
the singles that they said? I think they were Dirty Little Girl, Stumbling Flat, and there was one other, I think, like maybe She's Not It or something like that.
Oh, it was Get Up.
Get Up, yeah. So they kept like saying, okay, so you've got your 3 singles, you just need the 4th one or whatever it is. And then finally we recorded Going Supernova, and they were like, that's it, that's the 4 singles. But the other 3 have now got to sound like this, because that's kind of new ravey, and the other 3 aren't. So Russ's point was like, he said, it's good that we didn't get popular, because by re-recording our back catalogue to be new rave, we showed straight out the gate that we had 0 integrity.
Yeah. None whatsoever.
None at all.
No.
Do you guys want to re-record all of the stuff that you've done? Oh yeah. And we were just kind of reflecting on. I think they also asked us. I don't know if it was them or someone else. So the first song on the only album that we ever made was a song called Love Jet Pilot, which was like a kind of a acoustic harmony throwaway thing. That's, you know, that was about like,
goes flying through the air.
Flying through the, yeah. Yeah. So it's about a minute long, and I think it was.
It's a vocal monstrosity, is what it is.
It's a vocal monstrosity, and it's just a short little kind of silly kind of harmony thing.
Is that like a Sparkle's Last Ride? Is that like a homage to Sparkle's Last Ride from the Quincy album?
No, it was. I guess it was more a homage to whatever the first song is on Spilt Milk by Jellyfish.
Yeah,
which Sparkle's Last Ride by Quincy was also a homage to, probably.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But we. So there was a thing about having the first song as being like a big harmony song, and then going into. But anyway, I think our manager said, "Yeah, I really like that. Could you just make that a whole song?" And it's still out there. I sent Russ a version because it's still on Reverb Nation. Do you remember what the version is we created of Love Jet Pilot, Ollie?
No, it's from Reverb Nation.
Okay, no, I'm
Send me
gonna
a fucking link for that.
Send it
I would
over.
love
Send
to
it.
hear that.
Send
I
it
mean,
over.
Can we turn that into a whole song?
No, not we, Rob. So
Flying through the air.
That's probably why I don't know.
so he. Okay, so I'm going to send it to you now. You've got to. So yeah, I sang it, but I didn't write the lyrics, and it was not my.
It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah, I'm really trying to distance myself from this.
This is going to be great.
It wasn't my idea to do this song. Put it that way. It wasn't my idea. I think if my memory serves correctly, Russ and Rob wrote the lyrics and the melody, and then I sang it, and Rob made all the instrumentation. So I listened to it the other day, and I completely forgot that I don't remember why, but for whatever reason, there's a long segment which has I think it's from Good Will Hunting. It's like it's a
Not
long
like a
segment.
monologue or something.
Yeah, it's a monologue from Good Will Hunting.
What?
I think it's Good Will Hunting. I can't remember, but it's a film monologue in there, you know. And anyway, the whole thing is very serious though, because you know, like our first album was just like it's all tongue in cheek and silly.
Oh yeah. It was all just
But
like,
this version of Love Jet Pilot, it's very dark. It's very broody. It's like dissonant guitars and kind of like somber synths going. Zzzz.
hold on a second. Did we ever attempt to play it live? It got a weird drum beat.
Yeah, like.
I think I remember Fingers learning the drum beat and was really happy that we learned it.
I don't remember that we ever played it live.
Sing it. I can't remember. Flying through the air, looking at the stars.
Okay, well, enjoy it. That's my present to you. But in fact, so what survives of El Majestico on the internet anyway, on this Reverb Nation site, is 5 songs.
We just run out of Joe.
We ran out of Joe. Joe's exploded.
Wow. El Majestico
Wow.
did it. Flying through the air.
Through the stars. I remember that was my bit. I think
500 song plays. I think we have lost Joe. It's amazing. It's a real it's really fun finding these little. There he is.
Hello, sorry about that. So what I was saying was what survives of El Majestico on the internet is this Reverb Nation site, which has Stumbling Flat, Going Supernova, Love Jet Pilot, Misread It, and Dirty Little Girl. And thankfully, thank fuck, it's all the remix new rave versions. So we don't get any of the original. It's all just the new rave versions. Going Supernova is the only one of them that sounds good because it was meant to be like that.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it comes down to this or whatever it's called sounds all right because it was recorded like that.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
Just not pastiche, but take something and then effectively remixing it in restyling it.
Yeah, because I think Rob had to speed everything up. So he took the original.
And we didn't re-record anything either. You just sped it up on the computer.
Yeah, so nothing was re-recorded, and it was all just sped up on the computer. And things were re-recorded because he added synths into everything.
Yeah. But all the vocals, all the stuff that you shouldn't be speeding up, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guitars, yeah.
And guitars,
it was all just kind of sped up with a kind of dancey drum beat added, and then a load of synths.
Synth it, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
how the sausage is made is gross, isn't it?
I mean, this particular sausage was really budget sausage. I mean, it didn't start out as an expensive Bratverse, but by the end of it, we were just shitting into a sausage casing. Anyway, enjoy your steak, Fontes, and enjoy Love Jet Pilot. And
I will. Anyway, it's been a pleasure as always.
Once you finish listening to it, WhatsApp me your reflections, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go listen to it now.
All right.
This has been Back Chat Frat. See you later. We'll see you again in a few weeks. Cheerio.
Bye guys.
Bye. Back Chat Frat.